Hi John, so what are we making today?
Well, Hannah, today we're making oatcakes.
And why are we making oatcakes?
Well, Hannah, we're making oatcakes because it's a truth universally to be acknowledged that a handsome man in possession of a good book must be in need of an oatcake.
Ooh, so how do you make them?
Well, Hannah, I'm glad you asked me that. To make oatcakes, you need, actually, it's best to do it in a kitchen. Don't try making oatcakes in the bedroom, it doesn't work. So first find a kitchen, then in that kitchen you will need a kettle of recently boiled water. You'll need about 100 mils of that. 200 grams, more or less, of oatmeal. About 25 grams, if you can find it, of pinhead oatmeal. A teaspoon and a half of salt. A handful of pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, or dried herbs, or a bit of ground chilli, or whatever floats your boat to go in the oatcakes. You need a pan to mix the stuff up in. You need a baking tray, a little baking tray with the lips quite good, that's why I've got these round ones. It's handy to have a pair of scales. You'll need a rolling pin, you need some cheese, and a bottle of whiskey. Now we're all set to go. What we do, first of all, we heat up a pan with some olive oil. Oh, actually, I forgot that in the ingredients. You also need about 20 mils of olive oil, but I'll come on to that later. Put the pumpkin seeds and the sunflower seeds in a little skillet with some olive oil at a reasonably high heat. And you know it's warm enough or hot enough when the pumpkin seeds start to pop a bit, and it doesn't matter if you roast them for too long or not long enough. It's all fairly approximate, you know. So I've got enough oil in there to just sort of coat the seeds as they roast in the pan. So I'm just going to leave them like that to purple away. Then I put my 200 or so grams of oatmeal, my pinhead oatmeal, my teaspoon and a half, more or less, of salt, and about 20 mils or 15 to 20 mils of olive oil. I mean, that's a kind of generous glug, that'll do. And then you can do this by weighing it if you like, but about 100 grams or 100 mils of water. You might hear the seeds are starting to pop. Here's my 100 mil more or less of water in, and using a stout fork, because the mixture is quite stodgy, you just kind of mix all this up. And the oatmeal just absorbs the water. You want something that's the consistency of kind of like wet sand, really. And if it's too dry, it kind of goes into little sort of dry fistfuls of oatmeal, and you don't want that. On the other hand, if you've got too much water, you get a kind of creamy sediment that sort of comes out of the oatmeal if there's too much water. That consistency is pretty much bang on. It's very stiff. There's no excess moisture there, but on the other hand, it's all kind of sticking together. You can hear the seeds going there, so I'm just going to give them a stir around. You want the seeds to be not black, but you want them roasted. You want a bit of colour in them. They're popping away, that's good, that's all good. If you leave this mixture for any length of time, it'll sort of quite rapidly dry out. If that happens, you just pop a little bit more water in. If it's too wet, you can leave it to dry a bit. If it's too dry, just add a little bit more water. But it's looking fine at the moment. Let's just check out these seeds. They're getting a nice bit of colour on them. They probably just need another minute or two, maybe just fire up the heat a wee bit to hurry it along. Oh, sometimes the pumpkin seeds jump out of the pan. If they do that, you just put them back. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm just gonna, oh, that's a bit hot. I'll take these seeds and put them in my oatcake mix and just mix them up with the oatmeal and the water. This is a good way of knowing whether the consistency of your mix is about right. If it's kind of wet enough and stodgy enough, the seeds go into the mix and you don't hear them clattering against the side of the pan. You can probably hear the nuts at the, there's some nuts at the bottom that haven't got sort of souped up into the mix. That means my mix is just a tiny bit too dry, so I'm going to put just a tiny bit of water in just to make it a little bit wetter, but I think that's basically all right. We're ready to go. So I'm just going to empty the mix into these two wee baking trays. And the mix is a little bit sticky, but you'll find that as long as you don't sort of press too hard or too long, it won't stick to your fingers as you flatten it out. If you find that it is sticky, you can always put some cling film on it and that stops it sticking to your hands. And with the roller, and this is where having a baking tin with a bit of a lip on it is useful. It keeps the roller at the same height, and that way you get a fairly even thickness of oatcake. You don't get thick bits and thin bits, and you want to avoid thick bits and thin bits because you want everything to cook at more or less the same rate at the same time. I've got some excess there, I'll stick that over there. If you've got a nice even roll, then you get some nice evenly cooked oatcakes. It's sticking a wee bit to the roller, but usually you'll find that the mix won't be too sticky. It won't stick to stuff very easily, so you can just use the roller as it is. I'm going to just scrunch some of these bits off. So we now have two flat sort of biscuit shaped bits of oatcake, and then using a knife or anything with a sort of a thin edge, just score them so that they're easier to break up when they've been cooked. How you do this is, I mean, you can form them into little round oatcakes, but it takes ages, so I never bother doing that. I just cook something that's big and flat and make scores in it. Like this. And we're ready to pop them in the oven. The temperature of the oven is not critical. Anything from about 160 up to 200 will do. And you want to cook them for between 30 minutes and 40 minutes. So I'll just pop these in. Set the timer to half an hour. And that's them cooking. I'll snap my fingers and time will have changed.
Thank you, John. Do you think they're ready, John?
Well, let's look and see, huh? They look pretty good. You'll see that there's not a lot of change in colour. They darken a little bit. If you notice the oatcake starting to darken a lot, if they start to turn brown, then that means they're overdone and it's really time to take them out of the oven. Burnt oatcakes don't taste very nice. When you take them out, just tip them onto a wire rack. Just use my asbestos fingers here. And you have an oatcake. Tastes wonderful. Now you need a bottle of whiskey and some cheese. Carefully place the cheese on the oatcake, open the bottle of whiskey, drink and eat, and enjoy your novel. So it only remains to say happy birthday, Jethro. And everyone just take charge of the camera.
Happy birthday.
Yay!
Enjoy your oatcakes.
Have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Enjoy.